Namaste and Namaskaram. Welcome back to Vedic Dialogues. This is your space for diving deep into timeless traditions and figuring out how they still resonate today. Last time, we took a really close look at the 16 sanskars. Remember that? It was fascinating to see how those Indian traditions kind of weave through the journey of life, a real framework. Today, well, we're setting off on another really profound journey. We're going right to the heart of how knowledge, wisdom, even, spiritual insight has been passed down for centuries. Millennia, actually. We're talking about the ancient Guru-Shishya Parampara, that unique, really transformative teacher-disciple bond, our mission today. Let's trace its history. Look at the real challenges it's facing now in this super connected world, and also discover how it's not just surviving, but actually evolving, changing in some pretty surprising ways, sometimes even becoming this dynamic two-way street of learning, which is quite something. And what's really interesting is just how far this tradition reaches. I mean, from ancient texts all the way to YouTube videos.
From traditional music and the houses of musical lineage to actual government schemes trying to preserve it, and from wise old elders passing things down to sharp young people teaching their elders new tricks. It's amazing. The Guru-Shishya Parampara. It really is like this enduring flow, isn't it? Still moving.
It absolutely is. And, the key thing to grasp right away is that we're not just discussing classroom teaching here, not simple academics. The Guru-Shishya Parampara, it really signifies something much deeper. It's holistic. It's fundamentally transformative. It's a bond that's really aimed at the complete sort of spiritual and personal growth of the disciple, way beyond just swapping information.
Okay, so let's unpack that right now, because we hear guru thrown around a lot these days, right?
Yeah.
Especially online. But what's the real essence of the Guru-Shishya Parampara? What makes it different from just, say, any teacher and student? Why so profound?
Well, at its very core, the Guru-Shishya Parampara is about succession. It's a lineage. The word parampara itself means an uninterrupted series or lineage. And this concept, it's foundational in so many Indian origin religions: Hinduism, Jainism, Sikhism, Buddhism. It describes this really special spiritual relationship where knowledge, and that could be spiritual insight, scriptural understanding, artistic skill, even martial arts, is transmitted directly from guru to shishya. Think of it like a living river of wisdom. Yeah. Flowing unbroken across generations.
And you can almost hear that idea in the word Upanishad, can't you? It comes from Sanskrit Upanishad, meaning to sit near and listen, to absorb. It paints such a vivid picture, doesn't it? That closeness, that immersive learning, not just getting facts downloaded.
Exactly. That image is central. And this relationship, it's got such deep roots in history, but it's also alive today. I mean, think of the legendary examples Dronacharya and Arjuna in the Mahabharata, or the brilliant strategist Chanakya guiding Chandragupta Maurya. In music, you have figures like Swami Haridas and his disciple Tenzin, and even more recently, someone like the composer Srinivas Kale mentoring the amazing Shankar Mahadevan. These are all perfect illustrations of this living parampara.
Right. There's that beautiful Hindi verse, too, that sums up the reverence. Guru bin janane re, Guru bin javane sahota, Jais prane re. It basically says, without the guru, spiritual knowledge is impossible. Life without a guru is like a body without breath. Wow. It really elevates the guru's role to something absolutely essential, almost life-giving.
It truly does. Traditionally, the guru had this immense responsibility. First, to select a shishya, to see their potential. And their role wasn't just teaching facts. It was about removing the darkness, the ignorance of vidya, guiding the disciple towards, salvation, self-realization, vidya, true knowledge. It was this deep commitment to the student's liberation, really, leading them from darkness towards light.
And this bond is so valued, it even has its own annual celebration, Guru Purnima, observed on the full moon night of the month of Ashada, a special day just to express gratitude.
Which naturally leads us to the traditional setting where a lot of this unfolded. The Gurukul system. Picture this. An ancient Indian educational setup where the shishyas actually lived with their guru, often in these peaceful, natural surroundings. Like a family, a community. It was this totally immersive learning environment, you see. Much more than just formal classes. And importantly, the education itself was free. The shishya served the Gurukul and the guru in return.
Okay, so if it wasn't just about reading scriptures, what did they actually learn in a Gurukul? It sounds kind of like a spiritual boot camp crossed with an ancient university. No wonder figures like Rama and Krishna turned out the way they did if they came from that system.
Exactly. You've got it. The curriculum was incredibly broad. Yes, philosophical doctrine, spiritual wisdom, absolutely. But also sciences, maths, astrology, and crucially, practical skills, archery, warfare, statecraft. These epic heroes, they were products of gurukuls. It shows the aim was total development, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, shaping the whole person.
So it wasn't just about cramming information then. How did they teach? How did they make sure the learning went deep?
Well, the main method was the oral tradition, passing knowledge down through speech. Gurus would teach through lectures, yes, but also stories, discussions. Students learned through memorization, which was key, but also reflective dialogue, asking questions, and practical application, doing things. And the guru was a living example embodying the teachings. That's crucial. It fostered real understanding, not just surface learning. It was rigorous, yeah, very immersive.
And after all those years of living and learning together, there was this concept of Guru Dakshina. What exactly was that about?
Yeah.
I've heard the story of Kalavya and Dronacharya, which is quite intense.
Right. Guru Dakshina was the offering the Shishya made to the guru when their education was complete, a token of gratitude. But, and this is important, it was usually much more than just money or material things. The ultimate Guru Dakshina was seen as the Shishya taking that knowledge, using it well, spreading it, and eventually, ideally, becoming a guru themselves, ensuring the parampara continued. The Ekalavya story, where he offers his thumb even though Dronacharya hadn't formally taught him in the same way, it shows that incredible depth of reverence and devotion. It's about acknowledging that spiritual debt.
So the guru's role was huge, but what about the student? What did it take to be a good Shishya in that kind of demanding environment?
Good question. A successful Shishya needed several key qualities. Smriti, a strong memory, was vital for holding on to all that oral teaching. Meta, intelligence for deep understanding and critical thinking. Shlanga, which is like merit or earning trust, showing consistency, good character. Then there's Raga, real devotion, dedication, sticking with it even when it got tough. Saharsha, just plain hard work, the daily effort, the discipline. And finally, Utsaha, enthusiasm, a genuine passion and joy for the learning itself. These were considered pretty essential for the whole process to work effectively.
Wow. Given how holistic and frankly intense that sounds, you can see how maintaining it in our modern world would be a challenge. So how did this ancient system with all its strengths run into difficulties? What were the major shifts?
That's a very important point. The Gurukul system did face a significant decline, especially post-colonialism. A big factor was the influence of Western education models. Policies like Thomas Babington Macaulay's 1835 Minute on Indian Education, which strongly pushed for English education, really shifted the paradigm. It prioritized a different set of skills, different structures, and the traditional model just sort of faded for many.
And you can still see the effects today, can't you? Particularly in areas like, say, Hindustani classical music. Some sources point to that very impact of Western education changing mindsets. Also things like a growing trust deficit sometimes between gurus and disciples. Young people often feel pulled towards job-oriented courses, maybe less inclined to dedicate years to classical arts. Let's be honest, sometimes there's a perceived lack of glamour compared to, say, TV reality shows. And then the practicalities gurus themselves often struggle financially, making it hard to offer that traditional lodging and support.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And alongside those challenges, we also have to acknowledge historical criticisms of some gurukuls. Issues around exclusivity, sometimes based on caste or gender, which obviously clashes with modern ideals of inclusivity. Plus, there's the broader challenge today of, well, commercialization creeping in, and just finding truly dedicated, qualified gurus who embody the real spirit, not just someone selling a course.
Okay, this brings up a really big question for today then. With all this technology, does it make the guru kind of redundant? Is the whole Guru-Shishya idea just an old-fashioned concept we should perhaps leave behind in our digital age?
Actually, I'd argue the opposite. Technology doesn't make the guru redundant at all. Instead, what we're seeing is a really fascinating evolution of the relationship. The way people connect and learn is changing, yes. We've got online platforms, e-gurukuls, even discussions happening over WhatsApp. This dramatically increases access to teachers and resources, you know. There was this example mentioned in the sources, I think, about an online competition, training like 30,000 students from remote areas. And these students developed innovative solutions, sometimes even better than those from top institutions. It shows the guru's influence can definitely extend beyond physical presence.
That is fascinating. It makes you think, before the internet, getting information was hard, so information with power was knowledge. But now, information is everywhere, instantly available. How does that massive shift change what a guru primarily does?
That's the crux of it, really. The guru's role is shifting. It's moving away from just being the primary source of information towards focusing on action-based learning, experiential learning, hands-on stuff. Because information is easy to get, the guru's real value now is helping the Shishya make sense of it all, helping them get to the core of learning, expanding their perception, polishing the lens through which they see the world. It's about guiding them from that distorted view, avidya, towards true understanding, vidya, helping navigate the noise.
But then you have the whole phenomenon of social media gurus, right? There's so much unfiltered stuff out there, some good, some maybe not so good.
Yeah.
How do you find genuine guidance in all that? It feels like the burden on the student, the Shishya, to choose wisely has just shot up.
It certainly has. And, at the end of the day, it really comes down to the Shishya's choices and, well, the consequences of those choices. There's one perspective that says something like, there's no such thing as a good or bad guru because you can learn something from everyone, which kind of emphasizes staying open-minded, right? Trying to find value even in unexpected places. But yes, discernment is absolutely key now. The learner has more responsibility to filter and integrate.
This evolution makes you wonder, are those traditional roles of guru and Shishya still so rigidly defined? It feels like the lines are getting quite blurry, aren't they?
Oh, completely blurry. The internet and just modern life has massively blurred that line. A guru can absolutely be a Shishya in another context and vice versa. I mean, think about it in everyday life. Grandchildren teaching grandparents how to use a smartphone. That's a form of parampara, right? Or a junior colleague showing a senior new software. It shows the relationship becoming much more fluid. It can be a two-way street built on trust and commitment, not just hierarchy. That old idea of knowledge only flowing downwards from the elder is really being challenged.
And it's not just individuals adapting this way. It's interesting that governments are also getting involved, like that scheme in Bihar, the Mukhyamantri Guru-Shishya Parampara Yojana, providing actual financial support to gurus, musicians, disciples, specifically to revive folk traditions that might otherwise disappear. That's a conscious effort to keep that parampara alive institutionally.
Which brings us nicely to thinking about the parampara as a potential model for modern mentorship. That holistic approach we talked about, nurturing the whole person, has huge value today, not just in education, but in career development, even in society generally. It's about cultivating not just skills, but character, habits that help people reach their potential and contribute positively.
Yeah, and that holistic view can really enrich modern mentoring. Good mentors today don't just give career tips. They foster enthusiasm, they guide, and they try to understand their mentees' positionality, as the sources call it. Their background, context, race, class, gender, etc. That allows for much more tailored, meaningful support.
Yes, exactly. And a really crucial point that came up in the research is that the traditional, sometimes very strict hierarchy, maybe that needs to be relaxed a bit in modern settings. The goal should be more about open discussion, creating an environment where the student feels comfortable sharing ideas, asking questions. That helps them build confidence, independence, and ultimately more satisfaction. It's about empowerment.
And the idea of parampara itself, that lineage, it suggests that mentoring isn't a one-off thing. Mentees need different kinds of support at different times, and eventually they might become mentors themselves, passing on what they learned. It creates this continuing chain of knowledge and support, like an academic family tree you sometimes see.
Absolutely. And you could even see certain modern institutions, like minority-serving institutions, MSIs, as being kind of like modern gurukuls in a way. They often provide that tailored, culturally aware, supportive environment, connecting students with mentors and role models. It's a way of fostering success through a more holistic, supportive approach, enhancing diversity too.
So when you boil it all down, the ultimate goal seems consistent, doesn't it? Whether it's the ancient Gurukul or modern mentorship, it's about helping individuals connect with their true potential, becoming the best person, the best role model, the best scholar they can be, nurturing the whole being, helping turn information into actual wisdom and action. So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's really clear the Guru-Shishya Parampara isn't just some dusty historical artifact. It's genuinely a living tradition. It's adapting, it's flowing, like you said, like a river, finding new paths, but still connected to its source.
Definitely. From those ancient beginnings focused on self-realization and holistic growth, to how it's adapting today, using technology, becoming more of a two-way exchange, this relationship clearly still holds immense value. It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, that true knowledge isn't just about collecting facts. It's about transformation, about character, about lifelong growth. And seeing how it's shifted from being purely hierarchical to sometimes being reciprocal, where gurus learn from Shishyas too, that really highlights its resilience.
So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now? In this world, just flooded with information, maybe the real challenge isn't just what we learn anymore. Maybe it's how we learn to choose our guides, our gurus, formal or informal. And maybe it's about being open enough to see the guru in surprising places, even within ourselves perhaps, or in those we might usually think of as our students, our shishyas. How can you personally cultivate that humility to learn from everywhere, but also the discernment to navigate all this information, to really transform it into wisdom that serves you and serves the world around you? Something to ponder on. Thank you so much for joining us on Vedic Dialogues.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.